When you think of transport projects and how to link different areas of a city together, you may think of rail projects like Crossover Rail. You may think of bus projects, be it bus lanes, a busway, or just better bus services. But what if there was another mode, one often forgotten about, is rather simple, is not too expensive, and has already beaten projections? This is the story of the Kangaroo Point Bridge. The Kangaroo Point Bridge, which opened on the 15th of December 2024, was part of Brisbane City Council's Green Bridge program. This sought to improve active transport links across the Brisbane River and around Brisbane City as a whole. This bridge was the second to be delivered in the program and is arguably the most significant. This bridge was constructed for just shy of $300 million and connects both the Edward Street bikeway as well as pedestrian paths across the river into Scott Street and a new pedestrian and cycling tunnel underneath the Story Bridge, connecting bikeways on the east side and the west side of the river. The bridge also comes with a restaurant on the CBD side, elevated above the bridge, as well as a small cafe on the landing section right next to Edward Street. On the Kangaroo Point side, it features a lift to connect down to the riverfront, enabling a large amount of accessibility from Kangaroo Point both on street level and ground level towards Brisbane City itself. The greatest benefit of this project is the direct connection that it provides between Kangaroo Point and Brisbane CBD, useful for both residents of both the CBD and Kangaroo Point, as well as businesses wanting customers on both ends. Why this link is so effective partially comes down to the flaws in the other modes. For ferry, you would have to walk down the hill towards the tip of Kangaroo Point, and then wait for a ferry vaguely every 15 minutes, that's then also rather slow and lower capacity. Bus services don't fare much better, having to travel via the Story Bridge, then looping back into the CBD. Some services, which travel more towards the east, also loop via Fortitude Valley. And then the car, a similar route is required towards some of the buses, but then also having to find a place to park afterwards. Ultimately, with this bridge in place, it makes Kangaroo Point feel attached to CBD instead of very far away. As posted by the Lord Mayor of Brisbane City Council on Twitter, the Kangaroo Point Bridge on the 15th of January had reached a daily average of 10,000 people. This is a pretty significant figure, but also more significant considering that this was exceeding their own expected forecasts by 75%. And the thing is too, this bridge is still new. There's far more time for usage to grow. Part of the bridge project includes the construction of 2 restaurants, one on the bridge landing on the CBD side, and one above the bridge, also on the CBD side but still connected to the bridge. This would bring a new reason to come to the bridge outside of just crossing the river, and that already provides more expected usage of the bridge over time. And then being an active transport link, it has a very significant ability to leverage new infrastructure to benefit itself even more. So for example, the Albert Street train station, which will be built considerably close to this bridge. If you're on Kangaroo Point, you can then walk to this bridge and then have frequent rail connections very north of the city, very south of the city, and also a short hop to Roma Street to then access the wider rail network, making new trips available far more easier. This then also coincides with the new Mary Street bus corridor being proposed by Brisbane City Council as part of the Brisbane Metro project. That's 2 very significant transport projects that are now also very close to Kangaroo Point because of the existence of this bridge. This bridge is only going to get more popular as time goes on. And then, that's just the public transport side of things. You also have active transport links. It has been announced that they'll be looking to expand the bikeway towards the west, towards West End, then towards the eastern suburbs. Both connect to this bridge via existing bikeways through the CBD as well. It's hard to get the point across. This is only going to get more popular as time goes on. And here's the thing, how the bridge is now is already very significant. To give an example of this, let's go a few 100 kilometers south towards Sydney, and let's take the most successful light rail project, the L2/L3. And just to get the point across on the kind of scale difference we're talking about, the trams operating on this route are some of the longest tram sets in the country, operating with 2 tram sets coupled together on almost every service, operating very frequently and through the middle of Sydney CBD through a very busy pedestrianised section. This is a very busy tram corridor. This is where things get interesting. Now, granted, the daily ridership of these 2 routes combined comes to about 100,000 people per day. But the catch? This project cost $3 billion to build. So if the Kangaroo Point Bridge coming in at $300 million to build, and a patronage of 10,000 people per day, that actually works out to be the same amount of ridership or usage per dollar spent for both Sydney's greatest light rail project and this one bridge in Brisbane. Now, this isn't to say anything bad about Sydney light rail. It's fantastic, it's very popular, very good, very busy. But this is why this project is so underrated. It's so low cost, but in its opening days, it's performing so well, and it will only get better as more things develop around this side of the CBD. More transit links, more new towers being put up. Everything is going to make this bridge very successful. Okay, you may be wondering, what if you don't want to go to the CBD? What if you're not traveling to the CBD at all? What if you're in Kangaroo Point and you want to get to elsewhere? How does this bridge help you? Well, thankfully, alternate journeys are kind of my thing. So in this, we'll be exploring the difference between the walking trip from Kangaroo Point to, say, Brisbane Central, and the bus that would offer the same journey. Now, do note that the walking trip was done the day that the bridge opened, so there may have been more crowding, and maybe you could have done this walk faster, and maybe you can walk faster than me. I'm not going to use a network map for this one, as the distance is rather small, so let's have a graphic on Google instead. As you can see with the bus route here, its route goes from Central, down the main street, then out towards Fortitude Valley, to cut around to go across the Story Bridge, then loop around to the bus stop at Kangaroo Point. For fairness, I started this walk outside the pub, which is right next to the bus stop, so it's a rather even trip. It's probably one of the trips where the bus has the best shot at having better travel time in comparison. With walking, you simply leave whenever, and hop over to the bridge and go across. Meanwhile, the bus, you have to follow its schedule, and its schedule is not amazing. I think one subtle benefit to using this bridge to get across the river is the wonderful view you get with the CBD. If you're on a bus, maybe it's a little bit busy, but also you don't enjoy the view as much on the Story Bridge. You have the bridge kind of gets in the way. Well, this one, you'll feel free to stop anytime and just enjoy the view. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning is that this entire thing is just comparing walking to the bus. The second you involve a bike in this equation, which is one of the benefits of active transport projects like this, being able to cater towards cycling as well, it's out of the question. The bike would win hands down. There's a dedicated bikeway from Adelaide Street all the way through to this bridge. So you have a very short section of non-bikeway to then complete the trip to Central. You've already won. The bus will not keep up with that. The benefit of this bridge is the simple straight line across and enabling people to cross the river whenever they want. Now, you may be wondering, what makes this bridge so special? Why is this bridge so underrated? Why can't it just be a road bridge as well? Why can't it be the Victoria Bridge? Or any other car, bus, and pedestrian bridges? Well, you may notice that the bridge landing sites at both Kangaroo Point and the CBD are rather space constrained, so any road bridge would instantly make this a massive bottleneck for vehicles trying to shortcut to the CBD, and that's on the Kangaroo Point side, making the area far less pleasant for locals to inhabit. And then also on the CBD side, being a one-way road will also cause congestion. Even if you made this a bus-only corridor, you still have to deal with one-way roads, making bus routes very long and circulars, taking extra time than what will be necessary, and still having issues with traffic and crowding in this area. Being active transport only, it enables the bridge to be far cheaper, far narrower, fitting into tight spaces between buildings far easier on the Kangaroo Point side, and enabling more urban renewal options on the CBD end, like the restaurant and cafe. At the end of the day, this corridor simply isn't like other bridges, like the Victoria Bridge and the Ellingham Bridge. Both of these, on both ends, have high quality bus infrastructure easily connectable to. Victoria Bridge has the Queen Street bus station and Northern Busway on one end, and the other end has bus only links into the West End and the South East Busway. Neither of those would fit in at the Kangaroo Point side. You come in straight to Brisbane CBD with no way you could possibly fit a tunnel in, or any bus lanes. That road is already very narrow, with space taken up by existing bikeways. On the Kangaroo Point side, you're just not fitting anything in. This corridor is part of why access to Kangaroo Point has been rather subpar for so long, because you simply could never realistically get a road bridge in. There would be too much traffic if it was a road bridge, and if it was a bus bridge, it would be too ineffective, too slow. And this is where active transport comes in. And the bridge results so far prove it. So here we are, 12 minutes in from our slow jaunt from the pub, and we have already reached Mary Street. When I look down towards the left, down that way is where the future Albert Street train station entrance will be. Not only that, but Mary Street is once again where the new bus corridor will be as part of Brisbane Metro, meaning that if the walk to Central seems far, we've got quite a bit of way to go, well, just come here. Suddenly you have now already reached frequent bus links towards Fortitude Valley, and towards the south side, you've also a short walk now from Albert Street train station. Once again demonstrating the point that this bridge is going to become more useful over time. Is this project perfect? No. There are concerns of people with limited mobility that this bridge would not be too suitable for them. However, anyone that is able to, either by themselves or with assistance, use the Kangaroo Point Bridge to get across to the CBD, and then actually do so, that frees up space on the previous modes, the bus, the ferry, or even the road network, people that can't use the bridge to then get across with less crowding and more space. But it doesn't mean that transport in Kangaroo Point is now perfect either. There are still other things that need investment in. However, with the main concern of a direct link to the CBD mostly taken care of, you can now look towards other solutions for improving Kangaroo Point. For example, better bus services north-south. So for example, with the new bus reform, a bus coming from Garden City to Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital going via Kangaroo Point. This bus service, if allowed to run all day, would greatly complement what this bridge has done for Kangaroo Point, as those that still have mobility issues can perhaps ride that service instead to transfer to other onward journeys, and then the existing infrequent service to the CBD can still be allowed to exist, covering all the bases that are required. And that's part of what makes this project so great. It really just clears out one major issue Kangaroo Point has, which was the hardest to solve, and allows far more simpler issues to be focused on next, ones where a bus service is far more likely to be time competitive, for example, north-south. And here we are, we've made it to Central. A nice long walk, you can see on the time there how long that's taken. It does take a decent period of time, but now, let's take the bus back. Given the low frequency this bus route has, I did try and time it so I'm not waiting at the bus stop for too long, to not make the comparison too unfair. However, obviously I did give myself a small bit of wait, only a few minutes. But, unfortunately today, the bus didn't show up. Which kinda hammers home how essential this connection is. I will show on the timetable that yes, from Central to Kangaroo Point, it is just time competitive. However, that's assuming you have a good wait time. Missing that bus meant I would have been waiting an entire hour extra just to go back across to Kangaroo Point. And I think that highlights just how game-changing this bridge really is. While, yes, sure, you could improve the bus routes, it runs every 15 minutes, but even then, you miss one bus, it is faster to walk from Central. One bus doesn't show up, faster to walk from Central. So even in the best case scenario for this bus route, walking is competitive. And then there are other destinations outside of Central that you want to connect to. And while yes, for mobility concerns, a quality bus link should exist, however, you can focus that link on linking to Fortitude Valley, where people coming in can get the train to Fortitude Valley instead, change there, and then get a direct bus to Kangaroo Point, saving them time, as well as saving them from having to walk if they're not able to do so. And then, people that want to get to anywhere in the CBD are then free to just get themselves across the bridge, however they need to, whenever they want. Either way, everyone saves time with the existence of this bridge, no matter how you wanted to travel to Kangaroo Point. And that's the beauty of this project. It connects a part of the city that was annoying to get to by geography in such a good way. And again, this is not even mentioning bikes, something that, once I put into the factor, blows everything out of the water by travel time, enabling far better connections from further suburbs to these areas, enabling these places to grow. Kangaroo Point can grow far more as a destination for tourism and just people wanting cool things to enjoy in the city. I think that's fantastic. Now, what have we learnt from this bridge's existence? How can this be applied to other areas in the city? Well, obviously, there are diminishing returns to building bridges across the river. We do not need another bridge between the Go-Between Bridge and the Captain Cook Bridge. There's enough there. I'm playing footage sped up from the CityCat just to prove that point. Building a bridge there wouldn't provide the same level of benefit, but there are plenty of areas across the city where pedestrian links like this can just immediately boost so many things in a far greater and far more economical way than expensive rail projects, expensive bus projects, anything like that. It can be as simple as another bridge between Toowong and West End, which is the third green bridge by Brisbane City Council that has not been cancelled, it's just waiting for funding availability. Another bridge that was also proposed that was then cut was the St. Lucia to West End bridge. Another bridge that never made it past the draft stage was a bridge in the western suburbs across the river as well. Bridge links like these can still be considered later on, and maybe should be, because you've seen how much this one bridge has been used, how far these other places can grow. And there's not just bridges across the river that can be done as well. Active transport links can exist anywhere. It can be a bridge over a motorway connecting two different suburbs together far better. It can be a link over the train line. It can just be a simple bikeway along a main road, enabling people to do a short trip without having to bother trying to worry about parking, or just a simple walking trip for exercise. There's so many opportunities that active transport links provide for a growing city, and even a fully grown city could benefit from more. I mean, just look at this, just look back at the footage I've shown before, all the people just walking about. Even if you take the train or the bus, even if you drive somewhere, at the end of the day, you still are actively transporting yourself to your final destination once you park or once you get off your bus or train. Active transport is what gets you to your destination in the end. So, if it's possible to just link to two places by active transport only, in a time competitive way, I think things like that should be genuinely looked into as a benefit for traffic, making people not have to rely on cars for short journeys, and then even just speeding up public transport trips, but just being able to get a bus somewhere and suddenly your final walk to destination is a lot easier, or train for instance as well. Because at the end of the day, unless it's got a drive-through, you do have to get out of the car to get to your destination at some point. So, if it's possible, why not make it so you don't need the car at all? And that is why I think the Kangaroo Point Bridge is a very underrated piece of infrastructure in the city, as it links a densifying area to the CBD for a relatively cheap price, and for good value for money in its usage already, and its ability to have increased usage over time as more links to both Kangaroo Point and the CBD arrive, shortening the walking distance, making this bridge even more time competitive over anything else in future. And with that, I cannot wait to see how the Toowong to West End bridge does. Just to prove that this isn't just a fluke, but this is the rule. Active transport is good, and it is wanted in the city. And I cannot wait to see more of it. Thanks for watching, and happy travelling.